This is a President Washington FCC. Okay, this is a 10 through 12 meter radio. See how I did that? 10 through 12 meters. And the big thing about this is this thing is actually really highly rated out there. You don't just hear it from me. Look online in the reviews, especially at Walcott Radio and some of the other places that have this. A lot of people are jumping on this. It's at the time of this video, I've had this several months and played around with it a little bit and haven't had time to make a video on it. However, I want you to notice something. 80 watts PEP. Why is that a big deal? Because that'll do 80 watts on AM PEP as well as upper side, lower side, and 50 watts on FM. Typically, any ham radio these days, all the ones I have, are 100 watts on upper side, lower side, and then a quarter of the power for AM, right? So my ICOM 7100 does 25 watts on AM. My Kenwood out there does 25 watts on AM. My Yaesu FT450 did 25 watts on AM. This will do upwards of 80 watts PEP on AM, as well as upper side, lower side, and 50 watts on FM. Kind of enough power where you don't have to worry about extensively modifying any kind of power system, drawing that much power. You wouldn't want to plug this in a cigarette lighter. It's not going to work. If you have a 20 amp power port in your vehicle, that will work. But that's about what you're going to use on this. You're not going to draw more than that, on a power port. Now, this is identical to the George FCC, and that's the one I have in my work truck, the President George FCC, which looks identical. I mean, exactly the same, except the George is a 11 meter radio, strictly 4 watt 11 meter radio, and this is a 10 through 12 meter radio, okay, at upwards of 80 watts PEP, and we all know 10 meters, 12 meters, and 11 meters is wide open, okay? So this is going to replace my George in there, and I have that President Bluetooth mic that goes in the front, and I showed you that on the video of the George, okay? That thing actually works pretty damn well for a Bluetooth steering wheel mounted microphone, okay? That will also work on this. So, I'll do something else with the George one day. The Bluetooth mic keeps my hands free when I'm in the vehicle, and sometimes in a work vehicle I have a camera in there, right? And if I'm doing too much, I could even change the channels up and down and stuff on that Bluetooth piece that goes in the steering wheel. But sometimes with cameras, these vehicles these days, and fleet vehicles, you go reaching for stuff and trying to look at whatever, and you get dinged for distracted driving. So that Bluetooth mic, which actually does work well, is going to go on this. And 10 meter AM, I'm going to tell you before we get into the radio, 10 meter AM is a hoot, okay? I have talked to guys all over Europe this year on 10 meters AM, usually 29.0 to 29.2 is where they hang out. A lot of times 29.08, 29.1, anywhere in between there, 29 to 29.2 AM. And AM at 25 watts is kind of hard, especially the vehicle. But when you have more power, up to 80 watts PEP on AM on 10 meters, that's great. I've never worked AM on 12. I've did plenty of AM on 11, that's for sure. So let me show you about this real quick. It's got a lot of the features, and I want to highlight Walcott Radio. Now, President themselves sent me this radio. I don't know the guys at Walcott. I know of them. I know some of the guys that are dealers or distributors for Walcott. Walcott's even got some rebates on this radio and free mics, free digi-mics and stuff if you purchase through February. I'll put the link in the description to Walcott Radio because they could even do some peaking and tuning and some other stuff on here. They have accessories for this radio. Walcott, hopefully you see this video and thank me. But let me show you about this radio real quick. And, when I get to a part 2, as I go toward Florida again on my work vehicle, I'll show you this setup in my vehicle. And now I need another antenna. Now I need an antenna because I got the Tar Heel from my 7100. I need another antenna that will do 10/11 and then possibly something for 12 because it'd be too far away to get that 10 meter antenna on 12. I'm not putting a tuner in my vehicle. So enough of the babbling, I know, but hey, you can't put that in comments anymore, can you? Let's check out the Washington. One thing I like about these radios here with the build of the President, I mean, everything you could see on the screen here, nice large screen, right? And 7 colors, so you can do, red, green, purple, blue, yellow, magenta, and white, okay? So everybody's got their own little way of seeing. I like orange, but the one in my truck is green. Couple things I want to highlight here. Number one, a 6-pin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-pin microphone there, but Walcott does have adapters to use your favorite 4-pin mic. I like the round mic connectors that they continue to use, not like some of the radiodities where they go all of a sudden from a round to a RJ45 that you know your MD100 mic is not going to work on an RJ45. Well, it could. I did on my FT450. That's a bad example. But some of the other radios, the static microphones and stuff, you got to get adapters, right? A 6-pin microphone, because it's got the up and down, you know, with the PTT and the audio, so that's why it's 6-pin. But I like how they didn't make their own, you know, they're sticking with what's normal, man. They're sticking with what works. I could take a radio from 20 years ago and a microphone in my garage and get it wired up to this pretty easily. Pinouts are online. Now, a lot of stuff here that, I mean, very simple. At a glance, looking at it, if you want to switch modes, the mode button. FM, upper side, lower side, AM, right? AM, you have your automatic squelch, which does work. Your automatic squelch is a President thing here. I had it on my Lincoln Plus 2 and the George and some other ones, where, you know, once you're in an environment, setting your automatic squelch, anything above that is going to be, you have to break that level in order to break the squelch. Meaning, sometimes you could set your squelch manually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or however you do it. But let's say you're in a noisy environment. You really only want to hear what's above that without compromising signals that may be lost in the noise. Automatic squelch control will do that. All right. It's kind of hard to explain how that works. You know, setting it all the way to the left is your ASQ, and I seem to go up a little bit on the ASQ, and it seems to work just fine. So you have a little bit of a, if you're in a noisy environment, turn it up a little bit, but you're still in automatic squelch mode. Okay. Repeater friendly, CTCSS and DCS codes in here for repeaters. There's nothing better than working on a 10-meter FM repeater here at 50 watts in Florida, mobile, talking to the KQ2H repeater in the Catskill Mountains of New York at 50 watts on FM, clear as day, when a band is open, and talking to somebody in Australia or South America or South Africa or Germany through a repeater that's running 1,000 watts in New York. It's really, really cool. This is repeater friendly, okay? So you can do that, as well as your AM and your normal upper sideband on 10 meters. No CW, no CW jack. I don't think it's a big deal. A lot of people are going to be using this for a couple things. We know what. Basic 10, basic 12, basic other ones. It's got features on there that you would assume are for the other one I talked about, echo and Roger beep and stuff like that, which I really never use. But it also has automatic noise limiter, noise blanker, high cut, you know, going into the bottom here, let's see. So noise reduction circuit, that's like a lot of the radiodities I've used, where pushing that and putting it into NRC, okay, right here, is going to really, really knock out some of that noise. I'll show you that when this is in the truck, so that you can see how well that works to eliminate a lot of road noise, a lot of vehicle noise, a lot of electrical noise. It really turns it into somewhat like a clear digital signal processing. It's kind of like that, okay? Now, you can see that channel 1 on band C is 28.4. And people say, well, why do we have channel 1 here? Why do we use channels? You know, that's what CBs are for. Well, we won't get into that, okay? We don't, I can know that band C on channel 1 is 28.4, but you can switch to bands here. Hitting band, go to band F, right? Now I'm in 29, there's my AM, okay? So AM mode, and then going up, I can go up into even FM mode. Well, I'm still in AM. If I go to band G, now I'll be in upwards of where FM is. Let's see, band H, there we go, I. Band I, there's your 29.6, that's your FM portion, okay? And there's where you would set your, you know, you'd be on your repeaters here and set that up accordingly. So dual watch, high cut, you know, mic gain, just everything right here on the front of the screen. A lot of people won't be using so much of those features. You can get on this thing without using any of that and just fire it up, get on a frequency, set your mode, and away you go. You don't have to get fancy on some of these features. I haven't used high cut yet. Noise blanker is always on because of the noise in my vehicle. But some of the other ones, you know, you could do just fine without having to worry about, well, I got to read the manual and get through all the menu and stuff. No, not really. In fact, if you hold this channel button here you can get into the menu and change your color. Right? There's your colors. I'll leave it on orange, right? And you get to your dimmer. That's how bright you want it in case you're a driver at night, right? Your tones, your Roger beep. We won't get into that. You know, you can have it display things when you key up, such as your DC power or your temperature or your SWR as you're keying up, okay? It's got full scan and scan skip on here, so you can eliminate channels that you don't want to have scanning, okay? If you're using a different microphone, make sure you set this either if you have a dynamic mic or an electret mic, okay? I want to make sure, because just throwing another mic on there if it's not matching a dynamic or electret, not going to be good. An SWR auto, it will beep and cut off after, I think, 3-to-1 SWR. It'll automatically cut it off, so it folds back, protecting your radio. Pretty cool stuff. Noise reduction cancellation or noise reduction circuit, noise cancellation. Your repeater codes here, all right? Look in the book for your codes. It'll display, 1D equals whatever, all right? And we don't use emergency channel anymore. So the emergency channel 9, you could set that different and make that a shortcut. So if you wanted to set this to 19 and make that to where if you hit emergency, it's gonna go to 19, which is not an emergency channel anymore, but it's like a quick feature of how to get there. Your dual watch. So if you want to set dual watch, you want to set channel 14, right? And then whatever channel you're on, you hit function dual watch, and boom, it's switching 19 to 14. Okay, that's very basic. Split operation, that would be for your repeaters. So split plus your tone and your DCS or CTCSS for repeater operation. And some other stuff in here, okay? But band name, you can do all kinds of, there you go, SWR protection 3.0. If you want to set it to, you want to really put your finals to good use and burn them up, set it to 5-to-1. It'll key up at 5-to-1 or less. I want to set that to 3. Why? Because a 3-to-1 SWR is still usable if that's all you can get. Voltage protection, 16 volts. So if you're in an area or a vehicle or a power supply that somehow spikes to 15, 16 or 16 and a half, let's say your alternator is wide open and it's not supposed to be, you can set your voltage protection so that you're not exceeding 16 volts because that will damage it. Or power, yeah, I think that's what that is. Echo level, we don't use echo delay, temperature set Celsius or Fahrenheit. All right, temperature protection and such. So you can see that this thing has features in here that you could use. It really is feature packed. The one thing I do like also is the fact that we have, and this is always hard to open here. I'm not going to try to open that. That's a USB port. So if you decide to take over your power port, which has your cigarette lighter to USB charging port, and wow, how am I going to charge my phone? Plug it right in the front. Got to have your e-cig working when you're driving, even if you're using a radio, right? Or your phone or whatever. But overall, a really nice radio. And one cool thing about this, let me turn this off. I didn't know this, but if you look on the back of the box or at Walcott, they do make an optional fan kit, and that will go screw right on here, 4 screws on each one here. You'll have your fan kit, and that'll keep those finals cool should you need to be transmitting a long time on full duty cycle like AM or FM and keep your finals cool, okay? Also here is your, like I said, you have your SO239, you have a PA, external speaker jack, and your external Vox microphone if you needed that. I like how also we're keeping the same power thing here. The same 3-pin Cobra Uniden style, President style power mic or power cord. The thing is, I have like 9 radios in this room, and 4 of them have a whole different thing. So every time you get a jockey cords, because they use a T connector, they use the one for the RC cars. I forget what that's called. It's like 2 side by side. Then you got one that's a T. Then you got some other ones. I could just grab this, take my George out, put this one in. Take this one out, go to the Radiotti QT40, put that in. I mean, I could swap this truck to truck without having to run a new power cord. That's very important. So, other than that, the same microphone that comes with the Presidents, and I'll show you making contacts on this shortly on another video. But I'm going to tell you, I've said this before in previous videos, the microphone that comes with this, the one that came with my George, and the one that came with my Lincoln Plus 2. If those microphones all remain the same, you're not going to want to change it at all. I've had nothing but superior audio reports from the Lincoln all the way up to this radio, okay, with that stock hand mic. and people are saying, I mean, better than the Bluetooth thing, of course, because the Bluetooth one is like on the steering wheel, it's kind of away from me. But the hand mic on this, President, do not touch it. It does work perfectly fine. There is absolutely no reason to change that hand mic. Don't do it. Don't try to make a hand mic that's better. Don't reinvent the wheel. Leave it alone. It works perfectly. I get people on 10 meters or 12 meters and 10 meters telling me, what are you on? Your audio sounds great. I didn't even know you were mobile. You sound spectacular. It's that microphone. All right, so I love this little radio. You know, there's a lot we can go right into, you know, on the back here on every single thing. You know, there's a clarifier knob. There's a talk back to echo. There's a receive and transmit clarifier. That's slide on transmit we used to call back in the 90s with CB, you know what I mean? You could change the channels and frequencies on the microphone itself. You know, combinations of buttons, like if you want to, you know, set the RF power, you'd hold, it tells you in the manual, you would hold the PTT button and then, you know, push number 4 and you could set your RF power, okay? Switching it this way. Just like the mic gain, you would hold the PTT and press the mic gain button down here, okay? And that will get you in a mic. So there's a function and then a button, and then there's also a PTT and a button. So it's menu driven, you know, with as far as, you know, button combinations and being in the menu. But overall, I mean, I love this radio. This is probably the best President radio I've had to date. I know they have a lot of models out there, although something's partial to me for that original President Lincoln I had back in 1996, man. That radio, for some reason, I remember talking all over the country in my Ford Taurus on that thing, you know what I mean? And my GMC Jimmy. But today's day and age, this is where it's at right here. And I applaud President for keeping things that work, upgrading them, making them better, producing a quality product that is, and you know what? Nobody's paying me to say shit. This video, I am saying, they sent me this radio. They said, check it out. A couple months ago, just got around to it after I played with it to make a video. And I think this radio is spectacular. Walcott Radio has a lot of accessories and a lot of support for this radio. Check them out, the links in the description. And more videos on the way sometime, whenever I feel like it.